What do you do when none of the parts houses or their warehouses have the shocks that you need for your car, especially the front ones? Well, you do what I did, what most perfectly sane gearheads would do, and you drive north 4.5 hours, get a hotel room, get up the next morning, go in, grab your parts, and drive 4.5 hours back. Alright, one of our rare events where we actually have too much sun instead of not enough, which I do a lot of work at night. No lights down here, so it makes it hard to videotape, and I got the hiccups. But we moved the car back from the house back down to where I usually work on them, and of course, being that time of the year, oak trees are pissing on me. Oh well, we're gonna get this done. What we're gonna end up doing is we're gonna change these shocks. I'll give you a little preview here. Please ignore the tripod set up over there, but watch the car. Shouldn't be able to do it that easy. And there's actually oil getting spit out of the top of this shock right here. That one's still halfway good. So we're going to be changing that, and we're going to get started on it. Come along with us for the ride. Alright, we're going to have to take these rims off. We just got the new tires mounted on Friday for this trip. We're running 205/75 R14s on the front, 215/70 R14s on the back. Now, those aren't really big tires in comparison to other ones, but I still like my 14-inch rims on this thing. And it looks pretty correct. It looks pretty good. Yeah, I need to mask off, clean up, blast, and paint these rims, but I don't have the time right now. I probably should take it, but we'll see. Interesting as it may seem, there looks like this bottom piece here, and if you feel on it, that may actually be cast into or actually rolled into this mount perch here. So I'm going to end up having to disconnect these strut braces that I just put on. Hopefully I can find, I know I've got a couple of them in the back, maybe I'll find another washer to put back on here, and we'll finish going ahead and taking this thing out. I've got this side done. We'll take those two bolts loose, or those nuts I should say, and then we've got two nuts down on the control arm that need to come off as well before we can take this shock out. Let's get at it. Showing, believe it or not, you see the way it's rolled right there and the way it's stamped, that's actually included. Haven't seen that before. It's got its own little reinforcement piece. That's pretty cool. Alright, so 3 nuts and this thing comes out. Now you can see from the oil around it and everything, this thing was gone, and I don't even know this. Trying to see what this is. I don't even see a brand on this. It says top made in the USA. Contents under pressure. Well, it's a 67, so it's got a C7093A, then a 0689 number. So it isn't the original one. It's the C being 60s, the 7 being 67. So these things were changed out with shocks that are from 67. So at the very least, we now know what the deal is. Looks like they got paint on it, and that's what screwed up the seal on this. Huh. You learn something new every day. Let's get the new ones back in. Okay, what most people did not see, and what I did off the camera here a minute ago, yes, Maddie, hi, is I moved where I put the tire back on, moved where I had the jack, and then took the tire back off. Because when you're hanging the entire suspension down at full droop, you can actually destroy or damage your shocks on this style car. Even on the Mustangs from this era, or the Fairlanes, Comets, different ones, they actually made a tool, and I haven't actually seen one in person. I've seen them in pictures and stuff, but you actually have a tool that fits into the frame rail and actually takes the tension or takes up the slack so that you don't bottom out your shocks. So what I ended up doing is I came back in underneath the control arm instead of down at the pivot point, so that it still keeps part of the suspension under compression. And the next step is to actually go through, and I'll put the new shock back in here. But here we go again. Okay, what we've got here is my replacement shock. I'm psyched to have a new shock, but I'm kind of not. Because one of the things they tell you is that for these older cars that actually had a hydraulic shock instead of a gas shock, which this isn't actually a gas shock, they say that you're better off putting a hydraulic shock back on. But in this case, these are harder to find than, say, your 67 Mustang or your 70 Mustang or any of the other ones like that. Heck, even my other Fairlanes of older years share stuff with the Mustang or are more readily available. But the 62 through the 65s have a distinct shock. That's why we had to make the trip all the way to Dallas just to get this, because no one else had it in warehouse. What I might do in the future, depending on how it rides and everything, and we get this trip done, we can actually go through and go off the specs, see what the extended and the bottomed out dimensions are, and then call somebody like QA1 or Viking or somebody like that and actually let them know, look, this is the mounting point down here, we got a bayonet end on the top, this is extended, this is retracted, and they can actually find a shock and set it up with what we need and use an actual off-the-shelf shock. And then we'd have something more like, I don't know, something that you can actually rebuild in the future. Right. I got another washer to replace the one that I fumble fingered the other day. This thing actually has a piece that's actually holding it back in retraction or compression. And so I'm going to leave that like that for the moment. I'm going to mount this and the brace back on here. And then we're going to actually line everything up and cut the actual strap in there. And then it'll extend it up. In theory, that is. Every other time I've had to cut one of those when I was doing a repair, you couldn't hold on to it afterwards. It was a pain to recompress them. But just from seeing the condition of that shock, heck, there's even oil on the underside of the car where it was actually going through and actually spraying out there. So this was definitely a good call. Keep us safe on our trip, that's for sure. So this side's done. I'll get the tire back on. We're gonna go to the other side, finish that out, but I figured I'd at least show you one side. Don't really need to see it over and over again. Y'all have a great evening, but before we go, I want to say thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe. If you're on Rumble and you're watching this, Rumble please. The other thing that we'd actually like to see is there's a really good community of guys. I mean, one of the things that I really like about the No Name Nationals thing is that we've got a really good group of guys. Everybody's pushing and pulling for everybody else. And why don't y'all go out there, hit hashtag no name national in your search engine. It'll bring up a bunch of more channels. A lot of these guys need 500 subscribers. I need 500 subscribers at this point to be able to compete. It's going to be in Sikeston, Missouri, September 30th, October 1st. Hope to see you there, whether spectating or with your own channel. And y'all have a great one. Stephen Holtz out.